We have Amma who's going to speak to us. She is the head of trade and remittance. Oh, I don't know if I'm saying this right. At Nsano. So it's a leading Pan-African fintech company. And she has 14 years experience in fintech and telecommunication industries. And she is an expert in strategic marketing and business development. So her topic today is digital banking and payments in Africa. Who here is in the payments divisions? Okay, I've been having a few conversations and I'm learning the lingo, payments. Emma's going to be speaking to us about digital banking and payments in Africa. They're just miking her up. You will notice I have not said Emma's surname because I will butcher it. So Emma's going to introduce her own surname. And when she's ready, we'll give her a warm welcome. Nothing as good as silence. Okay. Let's give her a warm welcome. Welcome to the stage.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. So when the roll call was being done, I just felt very lonely, but it's fine, because I'm coming from Ghana. My name is Boa-Essilfie. I'm from Nsano. It's, like she said, it's a fintech in Ghana. Headquartered in Ghana, but we do payment processing in different markets. So we typically do collections, disbursement for our clients. We terminate remittances for MTOs in Ghana and many other markets. This afternoon, I want to talk about the digital payments or banking and payments in West Africa. I think on the program it says Africa, but the briefing was on West Africa, just to bring a different perspective to the conversation. So, yeah, I think that's my name, Oforiwaa Boa-Essilfie. It's quite a long one, so it's fine. So I think when it comes to digital banking and payments, we tend to, and again, the conversation is really from the perspective of where I'm coming from, so please, just so we're on the same page. We tend to look at it as how we are able to do traditional banking activities on mobile, electronic, or online platforms, which means that you do not have to go into a physical space to get financial services done. Now, from this perspective, we look at 4 key areas where people are able to access digital services. So there's online banking, which is typically accessing a bank portal, and then from a web device. There's mobile banking, which is using your mobile device to access banking services, and also USSD. So in where I'm coming from, you can use USSD to access banking services, and we also tag that under mobile banking. Then there's mobile money services, which is, as we go along, you see how that has redefined our space, or where I'm coming from, Ghana. And then there are other digital wallets and payment platforms, which are not typically mobile money, and I'll explain mobile money, what we call mobile money, but there are also alternative wallets that people store funds to be able to make payments. Now, underpinning all of these are 2 or perhaps 3 key things, without which you are very sure that you probably run out of business. The first thing will be excellent customer service or experience. The second would be operational efficiency, because people have different demands at different times, and how robust your systems or your operations are make a big difference for you. And of course, security. I think we've spoken about fraud and other things happening. It's also quite important, because while people use these digital channels, they are also very cognizant of the fact that in our space, scammers abound. I don't know about the other parts, but scammers abound. Fraudsters are always going ahead of the curve to be able to also navigate the system. So like I said, it's a West Africa conversation, and so that's the West Africa sub-region. Officially, as far as ECOWAS is concerned, there are 15 countries, different dynamics within these 15 countries. if you look at this West Africa sub-region, there are the people or the countries that are quite advanced, like Ghana, Nigeria, quite advanced in the digital payments landscape. Then there, of course, you have a bit of blocks. So there's, of course, Anglophone West Africa, Francophone West Africa. So the Francophones also have their dynamics, largely because they have a common central bank and a common currency. Their dynamics also are quite different. Then there are the small players like Liberia, Gambia, Sierra Leone. They are not there yet, but they are gaining traction as far as digital payments is concerned. Now that region is home to about 445 million people. That represents 5.5% of the global population. Now, this 445 million, half of the number live in Nigeria. So the whole West Africa region of 15 countries, only one country houses half the number, with 226 million people. And then for the region, there's 98% mobile connectivity. Again, when I say mobile connectivity, it's not particularly internet connectivity. But in our space, mobile makes a big difference because people access financial services via mobile and it doesn't have to have internet. So that's why it's a key fact there. Now, Ghana, for example, 98 looks at the entire sub-region. Ghana, for example, has 113.1 because of what we call multi-SIMing. In Ghana, we have, currently, I think we have 3 telcos, telecom companies. There's MTN, which is quite popular in these parts. Then there's Telecel, which used to be Vodafone Ghana, just rebranded to Telecel. And then there's AT. AT is a combination of Airtel and Tigo. In Ghana, they have sort of like a joint, like a merger of sorts. Now, in Ghana, everybody multi-SIMs. I have all the 3 telco SIMs. Don't ask me how, it's just that everybody in Ghana has numerous SIMs. I could have one for calls, another network for mobile money, another network for data, depending on who is serving me, whichever needs. And so that's how come our mobile connectivity is that high, because it's a multi-SIM market and the SIMs are more than the people in the country. Now, like I said, I only have a few minutes. If I want to look at the different dynamics of West Africa, it will take the whole time. So I'll focus on 2 countries. I'm sure you can guess which 2 countries I'll focus on. I call it a tale of 2 cities, Ghana, where I'm from, and where else? Nigeria. Now, these 2 countries, because, like I said, when you look at the West Africa sub-region, plus Cote d'Ivoire and perhaps Senegal, but they are more advanced. But I like to say that beyond our jollof wars and our football wars, we also have a very interesting dynamic when it comes to payments. Now, Ghana's digital payments journey has been telco-led, led by the telecom industry. The banks can't even catch up, whereas Nigeria is bank-led. So look at Ghana. Again, these are just some statistics I wanted to share. So the population as at now, this is as at January 2024, starts at about 34 million. Mobile connections, again, 39 million. But of course, internet users are there. So everybody has a phone. Everybody can largely access financial services because of mobile money. And but when it comes to internet, I think that the doctor before me spoke about, and somebody else spoke about data costs and other considerations why people are not really on the internet. Now, just some interesting clarification here. You would notice that between 2023 and 2024, or let's say from 2022, the number has been declining on mobile connections. It's simply because a couple of years ago, the government of Ghana decided that they were going to regularize how people access SIMs. So you don't just buy a SIM off the market. You don't even just buy a SIM off the market with a national ID. You actually take your biometrics. So now, and so they gave everybody a year and some to regularize their SIMs. So you go back to your telecom agent or branch, go take some biometrics, fingerprints, link it to your Ghana card. And so if you didn't do that, you lost your SIM. So that's how come the SIM market has dropped a bit from 2022. So in May 2023, if you didn't re-register your SIM, because of course when you were getting it, you registered it. But this time, because of the biometrics they wanted to take, if you didn't do that, then sorry, you lost your number. So that's why the numbers have dropped. So these are just some statistics to share the perspective. Now, the Ghana payments journey, I sort of put it in 3 blocks, because when we talk about the digital payments industry in Ghana, I think we saw the traction from the early 2000s. And in the early 2000s, really, there was limited banking penetration. The banks were only in the urban areas, not even the peri-urban areas. So if it's not even peri-urban, then the rural areas are totally cut off. So if you had a bank account, then you lived in Accra, Kumasi, perhaps Takrady, and that's about it. And of course, the documentation to get a bank account also meant that a lot of people were cut out. So it was late 2000s that mobile money was introduced by MTN, and it was just so that people can transfer money without physical cash, so that you can load your wallet and then just send money across to people. And truthfully, if Ghana is essentially speaking about digital payments and being ahead, maybe as far as our sub-region is concerned, I think credit goes to MTN. Because how MTN Momo revolutionized our payment system is a case study for many years to come. Then, mid to late 2010s, then mobile money expanded, so then the other telecom companies will come on board. At the time, Vodafone was there. I mean, it's interesting. Vodafone was there. M-Pesa is the world's model of mobile money, but MTN went ahead to launch mobile money in a market where Vodafone was. So Vodafone will catch up. Airtel will come. At the time, it wasn't AT. Airtel will catch up, and then Tigo as well. Of course, regulatory support. I think that the central bank was also deliberate about making sure that digital payments thrive. Everybody knows the issues associated with cash. I mean, from their perspective, others argue that they did that because then they print less and less money, but that's a different conversation. And then, mid to late 2010s, then mobile money started integrating with banks, so you can link your mobile money to your bank account and vice versa. A lot more services would come on. And now, 2020s, a lot of fintech innovation happening in the space. Quite a number of fintechs doing amazing things in the space, building on top of the regular P2P, which is sending money from from yourself to another person. So many things have happened. People use mobile money for savings, insurance. There's auto debit where you can sign up, so more like a standing order on your bank account. There's a standing order on your mobile money wallet on a particular day or every month, or if it's weekly or if it's daily, the debit happens. My company, for example, has a mobile money escrow service, and so it was done for the online community that shops. So typically you go on Instagram, you want to buy something, you don't know the person, you're not sure if you send the money and they don't show up, who are you going to speak to? So this escrow service is such that you will send the money to the seller, The seller will get a notification that you have paid. But when they deliver, you go back on the app to confirm that you've gotten the money, and instantly they receive it. So that if the money doesn't come, if the item doesn't come, your money is safe. So there's been a lot of, these are some of the changes that have essentially taking Ghana to where we are today. Government initiatives, I think we sort of also launched mobile money interoperability, so you can send from MTN to any ATM back real time, standardized. You can send from bank to mobile money, also real time. So quite a number of things have happened in recent times. And I already alluded to e-commerce, so I will not dwell on that. The key players, the mobile network operators, I've spoken about them. Then there are e-money issuers. So in Ghana, there are people who run mobile money services, but are not telcos. Now, it hasn't been easy for them because, you see, anybody who uses mobile money is tied to their SIM number. Your mobile money number is largely your mobile phone number. So if you are not a mobile operator and you create a wallet, it's really difficult for me to add that on as, unless you have a very compelling reason for me to use. So far, from the market, I know of G-Money by GCB Bank, and then there's also ZPay. It's not moving as it should. Then the key players, the banks, the traditional banks, of course, they still play a key role in our market. Then payment service providers like my company, Nsano, we also play in the market. And then money transfer operators. So money transfer operators are IMTs, those who remittance partners who send money. Now, the remittance industry too has transformed greatly in the last couple of years because we've heavily moved away from cash pickups to people sending money directly into your bank account and mobile money. So family and friends abroad, back in the day, they will send you money, give you a token, you go to the bank or an agent, they will ask you 1,000,001 questions, you have to deliver a certain passcode. It's all done. So the MTOs have their apps. You just enter the mobile money number, and in seconds, I'm getting my money in Accra. So these players have really changed the dynamics of the digital payment industry in Ghana. I just thought to share a few stats on these are the volumes of transactions that we are doing. Now, below there is mobile money and GIPS Instant Pay. GIPS is really like our interbank payment system. Now, you would notice that it's like flat to nothing. It tells you how the banks are really lagging behind mobile money. Everybody is sending money on mobile. Like, most transactions are happening on mobile money. If you look at the value here, as at last year, transactions that had moved on mobile money alone amounted to $125 billion in 1 year. Now look at where the banks are. So mobile money is what it is. And the numbers are powered by MTN. So MTN should be accounting for between 92-95% of these numbers. And then ATN, Telecel, formerly Vodafone, are managing the market. Isn't it interesting? Okay, like I said, I'll do 2 countries, Nigeria and Ghana. Nigeria's dynamics, not the same as Ghana, but whereas we have essentially exceeded 100% in mobile connections, it's not quite the same with them for different reasons. There's accessibility, of course, there's the data cost. Multi-SIMing I know multi-SIMing is a thing there, but not quite as prevalent in Ghana. Again, their internet usage is, the penetration is lower than you would find in Ghana. I thought to share Nigeria's journey. Pretty similar to Ghana, they also went through their own journey. NIPS is their interbank platform, and once it was introduced in the early 2000s, it was able to enable a lot more bank transactions. I think I didn't mention that whereas Ghana is very big on the telco-led, in Nigeria it is a lot more banks. So imagine, Ghana, if I'll use a card to make payments, maybe it's at the mall, a big supermarket, fuel, like buying fuel at certain places in the cities, and then maybe withdrawing cash at the ATM. Cards, we are getting there, but we are not. But imagine my surprise, I show up in Nigeria, everywhere you go, card, they don't even ask cash, card, they say savings or current. And it's even as small as a small convenience shop, everybody has a POS machine, to the extent that even on the streets, you can take your card to somebody sitting somewhere with a little kiosk, they take the card, they give you cash. It's not like that in Ghana. So the banks, and of course the cards are backed by banks, the banks have driven the digital adoption in the market. Mobile money is almost non-existent. Mobile money, the way Ghanaians see it, is almost non-existent because the telcos don't really run it. But I think I've gone ahead of myself. I'll come to that. Then mid to late 2010s, the growth of ATMs scattering around Nigeria. Then they had their own mobile money revolution. Again, their mobile money is not the telco type. They also have their own services where you're able to send money across, but it's not backed by the telcos. The telcos are nowhere near what the banks are doing. So they have services like OPay, quite a number of them. And then interoperability and expansion, quite similar to be able to send money across networks. And then in 2020, regulatory rise, COVID-19 just spearheaded a revolution with new entrants into the market, PalmPay, OPay, doing amazing, helping people to move money. And then what you also see now in Nigeria is that traditional banks are sort of morphing into neobanks or creating their own fintechs to be able to catch up with the time. So Access Bank has Hydrogen Pay, I think. GT Bank has Habari Pay. Wema Bank has Alert. So that's also another dynamic that is happening in the Nigerian space. Key players, traditional banks are very major. They literally run the industry. Then payment service banks. So payment service banks will be like the Ghana version of mobile money players. So these payment service banks are the telcos' mobile money legs. But they are trying, but the telcos in itself, as in the GSM side of the business, doing solidly well, but their mobile money leg, unlike Ghana, it's not working. Of course, the new banks, the Skuda, I mentioned OPay, and then the fintechs and the PSPs in the space. Now, whether Ghana or Nigeria, I just thought to highlight some of the key challenges. We've spoken about them at length. I don't, oh, sorry. Signal is lost. Okay. I think we've spoken about quite a number of them at length. Trust and security, regulatory hurdles. Earlier, there was a speaker who sort of addressed regulations. I mean, it's like a necessary evil, and we are always constantly looking for the balance between innovation and also ensuring that the system is sane enough for people to feel safe to transact. But every now and then, that battle is always happening in the fintech space in our part of the sub-region. Then there are infrastructure costs. While we acknowledge that digital payments reduce transaction costs, provide convenience, it's not the cheapest of things to be able to roll out. So there are key challenges. I mean, when there are quite a number of them, there's competition, prices come down, there's innovation, but that starts up cost of fintech is not as easy as it may seem. Then there are limited awareness of services. So today, Ghana, for example, most people will typically send money from one person to another, and that's the extent of their financial inclusion. With the insurance services that have been built on it, with escrow services, with savings, with auto-debit alerts, there are a lot of people who perhaps lack awareness or just can't be bothered. I mean, all they care about is, let me send money across. I think the doctor earlier spoke about how some will tell you that they don't have money. I mean, if they don't have money to go buy, what is savings to them? They don't have it to save. And then transaction costs and taxes. Recently, taxes have become a big thing in our sub-region. Ghana, for example, introduced the e-levy a couple of years ago. Very unpopular, but it's come to stay because the government saw that all the money was moving via mobile money. And the banks were not seeing much. So whilst we were pushing for digitization, the government started taxing mobile money. So when I send money to you, beyond the charge that the telco charges me, I pay a tax to the government. Yeah. So it saw transactions tank, but again, I think we can't live without mobile money, so we've restored and we are paying the taxes without complaining, and it's raking in a lot for the government. Nigeria launched theirs earlier in the year. They called it cybersecurity law or tax, but after a week it was withdrawn. Knowing the part of the world we come from, it will come back. It's only a matter of time. But that's notwithstanding, I think that I've shown you some numbers. I've told you the story. I think that digital payments have transformed the way we do financial services. It's really improved financial inclusion because today everybody has a mobile money wallet. They don't need to have a bank account, and you only need your national ID to open, and of course now your fingerprints to open get a SIM, and then you have access to a mobile money account. So that means that you have access to finance. If you do some menial job, you clean a restaurant. There are people who actually, so there are companies and a lot of people actually take their salaries on mobile money. So it's really part of the form. It's not even an informal conversation. It's really part of the formal system with lesser access or barriers to access. Of course, economic growth, we cannot speak about digital payments and all of these changes in the market without acknowledging how the economy has grown, because it's roped into the tax brackets people who were outside it for the longest time. So if you weren't in formal employment, if you didn't get your money through the bank, there's nothing like income tax for you. You are just outside the whole banking ecosystem. Today, by virtue of the electronic levy, at least the economy is growing for that. And there's also improved security and transparency. We are not there yet, but if you look at transparency, I mean, digital will always leave trails. So if I send you money, there will always be an SMS or something that will show that I actually sent you money. If I gave you cash right now, you turn and say that she never gave me any money. So that's also one of the transformative impacts that digital has come. Now, what's the future looking like? We've spoken about inclusion, we are talking about impact and innovation. What's the future looking like as far as digital payment is concerned? I think that maybe it may sound cliche, but very exciting times ahead. There are still quite a number of things that we haven't done. When you look at our markets, it's sort of been limited to payments. Things like credit scoring, involving AI. I spoke about Ghana, for example, card payments being very limited to a few people. You look at remittances and the many things that we can do as far as collaborating in the sub-region to do cross-border trade and payments. Remittances, we look at Forex and crypto. Crypto isn't quite, regulatory-wise in our parts, we are not allowed yet. So InsurTech, RegTech, there's just a lot of possibilities that we think that this journey or this achievement in digital payments has set a foundation for. So in a nutshell, this is digital from the West. I am glad to have been here to share our story with you. Thank you for your time. I hope that I shared some insights from the West. Thank you.